Hey, how are we all doing? This is me, Ryan Hartley, from Always Better Than Yesterday for episode 50 of the Always Better Than Yesterday interview sessions. Really, really excited. Going to just send a couple of invites, get as many people involved in the awesome 50th anniversary. Anniversary, is that even true? 50th episode. Here we go. I hope we've all had a great weekend. I hope that we are all well. When you join the conversation, just let me know you're here. Drop me a blue love heart emoji. Let me appreciate you. Let me just say thank you for taking the time to join our conversation. I'd love to know if this is the first time that you've ever watched an Always Better Than Yesterday interview session too. So if you're a first timer, just let me know. Just say first timer in the comments. I'd love to get to know you a bit better and just say thank you for joining us. So I'll do a quick introduction around, if this is the first time, what you've even stumbled across, why you should continue watching, and then it will be up to you as to whether you do that or not. So I am Ryan Hartley, founder of Always Better Than Yesterday, episode 50 of these interview sessions, and I initially started these by simply being curious about what helped people win. I'd love to understand a little bit about how people think, you might want to call that mindset. And actually what works for people. I'd love to understand what works for people so that we can go off and go and do that in our own journeys, because I think the way that we think informs the way that we act, which informs ultimately the results that we get. And we've had amazing guests. We're here episode 50, but over the last 49 I've been fortunate enough to interview authors, to interview TEDx speakers, to interview a UFC fighter, a Paralympian. And I've got to say a big shout out to my guest on episode 16, Katie Fankhauser. Katie, when we spoke to her last year, was unsure whether she was aiming to qualify for the World Championships. Well, those World Championships have just happened this weekend in Sort, Spain. And the awesome Katie Fankhauser is now ranked number 3. She came 3rd in the world at the World Championships Junior freestyle kayaking. So Katie, amazing, great achievement. Always have the support of the Always Better Than Yesterday community. Love to see you winning. And here we are, episode 50. I am really super excited about my guest. My guest is making waves in the world of personal development, and he has a mission to empower 1 billion people. 1 billion people, blows my mind. 1 billion people to unlock their potential, make it happen. I won't say any more because I want you to be able to hear it more from him. So I shall look to bring on my guest now. But yeah, let me know if you're here. Let me know in the comments. Just let me know how your day's been going. Hello, my friend.
How you doing?
Good to see you. Are you well?
Likewise. I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
Amazing. You look like you're at Make It Happen headquarters.
No, I'm not. I'm just at home, but I've got a little whiteboard, whatever you want to call it, there with the thing anyway. Yeah, but I thought I'd chill from home rather than head over to the office. So
I like that. Amazing. Do me the honour and the privilege of introducing your good self to the watchers and the listeners.
yeah, so sure. Hi guys. I'm Will Polston, and I suppose my own decision. I'll go by the name of a mindset strategist. I have the pleasure of working with a whole array of different people. And in essence, what we do is we take people from where they are to where they want to be, to get great results, live a fulfilled life, and make a difference along the way. So that's the focus.
Amazing.
Of what we do.
You have a massive repertoire of achievements for someone so young. And where does that all start? Tell us a little bit about your story.
Okay, so yeah, it's sort of like most people's goes back. I don't have sort of the typical Cinderella story like a lot of speakers do. I had a very fortunate upbringing. I've got 2 amazing parents. I've got 2 great sisters and an amazing brother. But one of the things that I did grow up with a belief that money equaled happiness, and as a result of just my own perception of everything that's going on around me, I've got two very wealthy uncles. One's a billionaire, one's a multi-millionaire, and through a whole course of events, I ended up just thinking, well, money equaled happiness. Some things changed, and I sort of in terms of the circumstance which made me focused my attention on thinking that money called happiness. Went off on a tangent to earn as much money as I could, as early as I could, which is where I stumbled across personal development. And then at that point, I got really into personal development, because the more personal development I did, the more money I earned, and it was just like, this is brilliant. Until one day I went to an event with a guy called Tony Robbins, who you might have heard of, and I had what I call my lightning moment. And that lightning moment was when I realised, and I literally just cried my eyes out, burst out with tears for about 15 minutes, because I realised in that moment, actually, the belief that I'd been running for 10 years previous to that, of money equals happiness, actually wasn't the real driver. The real driver was I wanted to be able to achieve what I was capable of, and I wanted other people to achieve what they were capable of, to benefit themselves, their family, their friends, their community, society, humanity. And that's kind of like the super short version, and then kind of it sparkled off in a very different direction to where I had been previously.
So what's the first thing you did after that Tony Robbins event then to move towards this new realization?
There's a bit of a funny story behind it. So I remember I was so pumped, and if anyone's ever been to any of Tony's events, you know, you leave just like on cloud nine. I come home, and I remember sort of putting my family into a living room and saying, like, this is what I'm going to do, this is changing. And that night I registered a company online, and the next day I went and set up a bank account, and I was like, right, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I did nothing. Right. I said I did nothing. I did. So I was running a division within a stock brokerage at the time, and I said to myself, no, I'm gonna start changing. So I started looking at opportunities. I did end up leaving the city. I set up a renewable energy business, grew that sort of really quickly. Went from a standing start to like 85 staff within 4 months, growing. But then sort of 18 months into it, government changed legislation, killed that whole business pretty much. And I went on holiday with a girlfriend at the time, and weirdly, so she was a dental nurse, and I went to see her colleague, who sort of gave me a hygienist appointment before we went away, clipped my gum. I ended up having to go on antibiotics, and then I couldn't drink on this particular holiday. We were going to Cancun and whatever. Anyway, this one particular night, we went to a place called Coca Bongos, which is like this mad party place. If anyone's ever been to Cancun, they'll know. Anyway, long story short, she got hammered. The next night, that night I carried her home at like 5 a.m, woke up the next day, and she was sort of throwing up, being sick, and didn't want to go out in the sun. I was like, well, I haven't been able to drink alcohol in this holiday. I'm not standing here with you. I'm going out in the sun. I went out of a book called The Hero by a woman called Rhonda Byrne, who ironically was the author of a book called The Secret, which was the first personal development book I ever read. Right, so there's a bit of a link. Anyway, I'm reading this book, and I'm out sat in the sun on the sun lounger with my sunglasses on. Next thing I know, I just burst out crying again, because I was reading this part in the book when it talks about Mastin Kipp. And Mastin Kipp's got a website called The Daily Love, and he's sort of into personal development and does stuff. But the way his career sort of kicked off was he used to post motivational quotes on Twitter every day. And one day he got retweeted by Kim Kardashian. He went from 1,000 followers to 10,000 followers overnight, and then he just took off. And at that point, I realised for sort of years previous to that, I thought, well, I can't do what I really want to do, which was sort of working with people in this capacity, because I need to become successful first, and didn't believe I was successful and all that stuff that comes with it. And so then I just decided, I got home and I said, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to post a motivational quote on Twitter. I said on social media, which I did. A week later, I realised, Will, you're an idiot. Some people don't go on social media in the morning. You need to do one in the afternoon as well. So I did that. After that, a week after that, I set up a website. In the third week, I wrote my first blog. And then 3 months later, I had a 10,000 strong social media following. So that was kind of what kicked it off. And then it's, again, sort of gone off on various tangents and evolved since then.
Yeah, that's amazing. You master NLP practitioner. What's that kind of given you in your toolkit?
That's wow. So Neurolinguistic Programming, for those who aren't familiar with it, is I call it the art and science of personal excellence, and it's an absolutely game-changing technology to be able to become aware of. I first become aware of it, I was using it when I was working in investment sales, but then I really become aware of it when I first started doing it. So NLP, in summary, like I say, I call it the art and science of personal excellence, but all it really is the ability or the study of successful behaviors. So understanding internally and externally really how behaviors work and why people do certain things.
Yeah.
So then once you have that awareness, then you have the ability to change them into sort of how you want to be able to do it. So it's given me a massive platform and foundation of knowledge, which is ever growing and continuing to expand on human awareness, human potential, and human behavior, really, and how to change it, influence it, and all that good stuff.
Love that. So there's loads of things that you're doing now to help create that ripple effect. What really came first? What was your first big move in the personal development space?
So again, sort of like I suppose a lot of things, I'm like, I wanted to jump straight into the deep end. It's like I want to work one to many. I wanted to sort of do this thing. So I decided, I created an event. I worked with a coach, a great friend of mine now, but a guy that I got introduced to called Andrew Silito. We put together this day's worth of content of, at the time, bringing all the best things that I knew that I thought were worthy of other people knowing. And my plan was really simple. I was going to get 50 people in a room once a week. For free, give them loads of value. Hopefully they'd be interested and want to invest into coming along to the day with me. So I thought, well, how hard can it be? For anyone that's run events, a lot harder than I thought. That said, the first event I had 36 people at. I thought I was probably going to get about 8 people sign up. I had 1 sign up, which wasn't too bad. The next event I had 16 and I had 1 sign up. The third event I had 12 and I had none sign up, and the fourth event I had 13 and none sign up. So I thought, okay, right, back to the drawing board. This isn't right. And I'm a big believer in thinking differently, and sort of my thing that I say is think differently, act differently, get different results. And I just heard on the introduction you saying about sort of something very similar, and I just thought, well, other coaches and people that want to impact me, because I wasn't familiar with the personal development world. Like, I wasn't really in it in the way that I'm in it now, as like a what's the word, as a consumer. I just wasn't aware of it. I mean, I just, as far as I concerned, I read books and watched American people on YouTube. Like, that was as far as I was concerned of what personal development world was. That was the thing I was really passionate about bringing to the UK. And my logic was, well, other coaches must be having the same challenge. Nobody reads just one author. So why don't we all just work together? And that was where what was back then known as the Elite Network come about, and which is now known as the Evolve Network. And then it's expanded and developed out from there.
I love that. Why they change the name? What's it now become?
So it's become the Evolve Network now. It was the Elite Network. There's a couple of reasons. The etymology of the word elite means to elect, and the whole thing was like a play on words. The Elite Network 10, to elect to live life at level 10, and that was what it's about. But most people's association with the word elite is thinking you're better than other people, which we're like. You come along to any of our events, you'll see it's just not about that. And I had people say that to me a lot. A lot of people, they're going, well, let's say they're at the event, they'd say to me, if I knew it was like this, I would have come months ago. I thought it was going to be this, blah, blah, blah. And I was hearing that, and I was like, do you know what, this isn't right. And then what happened, funnily enough, was we'd always done everything organically. And then there was this particular individual, we started doing Facebook ads, this particular individual took a screenshot of one of our ads. I don't think he knew, or maybe he did know, that we were actually friends on Facebook as well, and posted this thing saying, what's elite about this, and sort of digging into it. And I just thought to myself, do you know what, that's the final straw. It isn't, I just don't want this thing of people thinking that it's this elite group of people. It's about personal development. It is about people growing. So hence the change. And so far it's been very, very well received. I don't think there's been anyone that's that said that they don't like it. So yeah.
What's been some of the main kind of practical things that have helped you in your own development journey?
Practical things. Constantly surrounding myself with like-minded people is one, and people that are further ahead on the journey than me is one for sure. I mean, I often refer to myself as a monkey, and what I mean by that is that I don't know if you're familiar with the film Toy Story, and they have like the barrel monkeys. There's a game called Barrel Monkeys, and all the monkeys like hang in a chain, and I'm just one of them monkeys. So every time I'm jumping up a monkey, I'm sort of bringing the other monkeys with me, and doing that. So it's kind of learning, and I forget the guy's name, but there's a famous martial artist that I can't remember, but basically he talks about you want to have people that are ahead of you to learn from.
Shamrock, isn't it?
Yes.
Plus minus.
Yeah. Plus, yeah. That's right. Exactly. Bang on. And yeah, basically having someone that you can learn from, someone that's equal to challenge you, and someone that's sort of not as far ahead as you for you to teach. So
yeah, Shamrock principle. I love that. Do you have mentors?
I got so many, and I call them direct and indirect. So there are people that are mentors of mine that they don't even know they're mentors of mine. That I'm constantly modelling, and I'm looking to learn from and study from. So there's those people, and then of course there's the people that I invest in their services, and I'm really fortunate. And one of the things that I love doing is building relationships, and I'm very fortunate now to have a lot of people that, even in recent years, were people that I really looked up to and still do look up to, but now I'm able to call friends and have the ability to hang out with them and do some cool stuff with them.
I love that. You recently put on the biggest, I think it's called the biggest personal development event of the year.
Yeah, the personal development event of the year, yeah.
That's it. And I remember you put out quite a really raw post after that event, kind of reflecting on it. Can you kind of just share a little bit of what that event gave you? You know, were you a different person come the end of it?
100%. So I called it the personal development event of the year because that's what I wanted it to be for other people, but that's what it ended up being for me. It tested me in so many different ways. The people that were close to me at the time just thought I'd start crazy, because basically there was a succession of things that didn't go as they should have that made it really difficult, let's say, really difficult basically, to be able to pull off. But I pushed, and one of my affirmations is I'm a master problem solver and possibility creator. So I was looking at all these different ways of being able to pull this off. There was a whole wealth of knowledge and learnings in it, that have given me the insights to be able to go on and develop and grow from there, for sure. Yeah.
What other positive affirmations do you give yourself? What some core beliefs you have?
So in terms of affirmations, there's about 8 that I read and say out loud each day. I don't remember off the top of my head. I have them as I read something called The Daily Stoic. It's a book that I really like, sort of Stoic philosophy. So I have them as a bookmark of that. So as I open that up, I read it out. But so another one is I'm a master at learning. Everything I learn, I retain. That's another one. I can, I will, I must make it happen is another. I'm focused on fair exchange. With fair exchange, everyone wins. I'm a money magnet. Everything I touch turns to gold. What else have we got there? Yeah. There's a few. So I'm a genius, and I apply my wisdom. Yeah, there's a few others.
So for some people that have logged in and they've never heard of positive affirmations before, and they're all of a sudden hearing you talking about being a genius and a money magnet, like, what's the reality behind it? Like, what's the purpose of saying those things?
Okay, so our subconscious is what runs us. You know, we like to think that our conscious mind is running things, but it's really just the tip of the iceberg. You know, so you may have seen sort of the visuals before. Well, you know what an iceberg looks like, right? 80% of an iceberg is below the water, and 20%, and it's our subconscious that's running us. Now, between the ages of 0 and 7 are what we call the imprint years. So we've got like a brain that's a sponge, if you like, that's dry, and we're filling it with all this information that we're learning from others, from our parents, from our other members of family, school teachers, all the rest of them, from 0 to 7, and it's the way I describe it is, if you can imagine you've got a sponge, like a typical yellowy colour sponge, and you dip it in a bucket of red dyed water. Right, so you dip it in, so it's soaked through, it's gone all the way through. Now then, if I was to then take that sponge that's full of red water, and I was to now dip it in blue coloured dye water, the outside is probably going to go blue, but in its deepest core, it's still going to stay red. So if we were to cut it in half, you'd almost have like a gobstopper style sort of look on the inside. Now, affirmations is what we say to ourselves, and by using affirmations, we're able to reprogram our subconscious mind. And by saying these things over and over and over and over and over again, and obviously believing them, because that's the other thing, is that we want to look at removing an affirmation and replacing it with a new one. It's like sort of taking out a weed and putting in a new one. That enables you to do that, and people do that in various different ways. Like some people use the snap bands, like a friend of mine, sort of she even set up a business doing it, where you'd have a negative thought, you'd snap the band and replace it with a new one, so that becomes the trigger for you to do that. So yeah, that's the essence of what you're doing. And what you're also doing at the same time with that is, we have a part of our brain called the reticular activating system, and the reticular activating system is the part of the brain that enables you to focus. So when you're looking around at stuff, your reticular activating system is the thing that's on the outlook constantly. You've got to remember, our brains are 2 million year old bit of kit that's been designed to make us survive. So by being able to have these embedded, designed thoughts, not other people's thoughts that have been injected or projected into you, then we can then train our reticular activating system to look for opportunities that it wouldn't normally see, because we're creating an awareness around these things. So that's the essence of why they work and how they work.
My daughter, she's called Brooke, she's 4 years old, and she is unstoppable. That's her affirmation. She looks in the mirror, I'm Brooke Hartley and I'm unstoppable. It's powerful. You said about, one of the main things that's helped you is about surrounding yourself with like-minded people, and I guess that's kind of community. I was going to ask you, what does the Make It Happen community mean to you?
Oh, it means so much. I mean, the thing for me more than anything else is when you're in that group or you're around those like-minded people, it encourages you to constantly raise your standards, because you don't want to be the one that falls below. This has been quoted by so many different people that I don't think anyone really knows who it's quoted by, but you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So again, I'm constantly trying to put myself in areas where I can be learning and growing for that reason. The Make It Happen community means a massive amount to me. I mean, you alluded to earlier the ripple effect. So I'm writing a book at the moment called The Ripple Effect, and the whole purpose of what I do is, I'm not naive enough to think that I'm going to work with 1 billion people in my lifetime. I may well do, but when I'm talking about impacting 1 billion people, for me, that's like, if I can impact, if I was to impact 10 people tomorrow, for example, and those 10 go on to impact another 10 people themselves in the next, then in the next week, then that's 110 people that I've had the ability to have an influence on, just in that period of time. So that's really what it's about, and we are doing that, from people that are coming to our events, and I've had the pleasure of working with so many different people from all different spectrums and areas of life, from your celebrities to your professional athletes to business owners to the other person I'm the guy that gets the phone call at 2 o'clock in the morning when someone's about to commit suicide, So it's like this whole array, and being able to work through with those people, to enable them to benefit their lives, and then again their family, their friends, their community, society, humanity.
Yeah, I love that. And I guess I was having a talk this week around, coaching is simply a form of what we do, and I guess trying to connect to why we do it, and you having such an impact is a representation of who you are as a person, I guess. And if you're always on that that RAS of helping people, looking for an opportunity to empower. How do you keep showing up? How do you look after Will Polston?
That's a great question. And so the first thing I'll say is that my values, my highest value is self-mastery, right? So my highest value is self-mastery. So it's very easy for me. It's the thing that just comes naturally to me to want to do. Like this morning, I woke up just naturally. I don't know what it was. I don't normally wake up this time, like about 10 to 4 this morning. The first thing I start doing is personal development, and then I'm doing work and stuff like that, because my first highest value is personal mastery or self mastery. The second one is business. The third is teaching, and the fourth is money. So for me, I'm in like my flow state. Or creating wealth as opposed to money, but I'm in my flow state doing these things. So for me, actually, is very easy for me to do. Are there times when I feel like I don't want to do things and I'm not doing things? Of course there is. I'm human, and it's like, it is nice to have a break. But for me, so one of the things I will have breaks and I'll do things, but I have what I call a self-love list. So I work through the things that are on my self-love list. And literally every week I go through it to ensure that I'm keeping myself accountable to be doing these things. So one of them is watching sunrises. For me, it's like when I can be really present, I go out and watch sunrises. Another one is eating healthily. Now I've got a sweet tooth. I'm the same as many people, and I'll have a binge out on a pizza and Domino's cookies and Galaxy and all the rest of it. But generally I do try, certainly 70-80% of the time, to eat well. So that's massive. Water, massive. Exercise, massive. Looking after myself in terms of supplements like wheatgrass and the right amount of minerals and apple cider vinegar and just sort of these extra things to give me a solid foundation. So yeah, they're just a few of the things. And the other thing as well is doing the things that I really enjoy doing. Like I've got, I love playing ice hockey. I played ice hockey for pretty much all of my life, and I love doing that. Catch up with mates doing certain things. So yeah, they're just a few of the things that I do to try and ensure that I'm looking after me, so that I can operate at the best. Because if I had a jug here, I would use a jug, but you can't pour from an empty jug. So I'm constantly trying to refill myself, and that's the thing that was particularly challenging. I think sort of that post you alluded to, I can't remember the term you used, authentic or whatever the word that you used, but or vulnerable, but is when that I'm not feeling myself, and I'm not feeling 10 out of 10, which I don't every day, but I'm normally feeling sort of 7 or an 8 out of 10 most days. Is that then the conflict that I'm having is, well, how can I show up and how can I do these things? But that's when I then have to go back to NLP. It's about state management. It's not about the circumstance. It's about what we're doing with those circumstances. It's going back and applying all the things that I've learned and I've studied and I've immersed myself in to be able to take me to that next level. And that's really what the blessing has been in this last 9 month stint. It's made me double down more than I've ever have done. I've learned new insights about myself. I've learned new skills. I've learned new. I've created new relationships, and it's massively humbled me. And it's been a huge test of resilience and determination to be able to pull through it in that way. So
it's powerful, isn't it? Powerful. You talked about your highest personal value being self-mastery, and I guess that leads us nicely onto my ethos about being always better than yesterday. And I just wonder what the phrase always better than yesterday prompts in you.
Yeah, so I talk about this similarly as well. I talk about always being the best version of yourself, right? Cool. They're very similar, but always being the best version of yourself, and always being and yours is, remind me, sorry, is
always better than yesterday.
Always better than yesterday is it's not always about being the best. And what I mean by that is Usain Bolt, right? He can run whatever the record is. I'm assuming he still has the world record. He can run that in that period of time. But he doesn't run world records every day. So he's doing the maintenance work so that when he needs to turn it on, he can turn it on.
Yeah.
But he's not running world records every day. And that for me is a lot of this. Is you don't have to be, in my opinion, you don't have to be doing everything 100% all the time. You know, it doesn't work like that. A car has 5 gears. Well, unless you've got an automatic, but most cars has 5 or 6 gears, and you use them accordingly. And you can, sometimes you need to be in gear 1 to get you going, and you're at high revs, but then you can be cruising at 70 miles an hour doing 2,000 revs in gear 6. So they're the things there in that respect.
Yeah, I can see that. How can people connect with you? How can people find out more about you? How can they see? How can they connect?
Yeah, sure. So we've got quite an active Facebook community. We've got about 4,000 people in the Make It Happen community, which is a Facebook group. So you can join the group. That's one of the ways. Obviously, I'm on most social media platforms. So Instagram is at Will Polston. Twitter, I don't really use. LinkedIn, obviously personally on Facebook, on my Facebook page. But yeah, the group we've got, if you're particularly interested in personal development, we've got a massive amount. I mean, I post in there multiple times a day, and we've got a whole load of cool people doing different things, and obviously from our events. So if anyone's watching this, you can come along to the Evolve Network. We spoke about it earlier. We run them in 6 cities around the UK every month. Your first event is free to come along to, and you can benefit from 2 personal development experts at every single event that we have as well, that are speaking there.
Love that. I think the first time I ever saw one of your posts was about one of your events that was run up north, and I saw the list of cities, and I think I commented on, if you ever look into one in Bristol, give me a shout and I'll help out. So that offer still remains.
A year.
Sure. I think it was a year ago we connected. But yeah, if you ever want to come down the West Country, I'll.
Well, the plan is, so we've just had a big rebrand, and we've made some changes. And the intention is the latter half of this year is to open some new locations. And we haven't got anything in that neck of the woods. So I'd love to look at having something over there. So it's definitely a conversation to be had in
the offer still stands. The offer still stands. Guys, girls, thank you for taking the time to join us this evening, whether it be live here on the replay, whether it be on the YouTube or the podcast. Please do make sure you ask your questions in the comments. We'll definitely go back through and pick up those as we go. And yeah, just wanted to say thank you, Will. Been an absolute pleasure to speak with you. I could speak with you all night. There's so much that we probably even scratched the surface of. But I'm not going to take up all your evening. I'm just going to do one final thing. And that's just to ask you to leave a final thought from your good self.
Yeah, I'll certainly do that. What I want to do just before that is say thank you for having me on. Congratulations on getting to 50 episodes, and
thank you.
I'm sure there's many more great episodes to come. So my final thought. There's so many that I could use, but this is one that this is something that I think is particularly interesting. And yeah, we can use this to go from here. So you will be what you will to be.
Mic drop. Say it again.
You will be what you will to be, and I will say that is I heard it recently in a book called A Man Thinketh, and I think it's James Allen. So it's not my quote, but yeah, I heard it the other day, and I thought, God, I don't know whether it was just because my name's Will and it really resonated.
I was going to say there's some subconscious NLP things going on there.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I think it's really powerful. As you'll be what you will to be, and yeah, with the right thought process, with the right action, you can achieve the results that you desire, and yeah, it's powerful. So thank you very much for having me on. I hope it's been useful. And yeah, anyone that's watching this on replay, thanks for watching. Anyone that's been watching, thanks for watching, and wish you all the best.
Amazing. And the final thing I'll just say is, let's enable that ripple effect to continue. So if this has added you some value, or do you know what? There is one person in your network there's one person in your network that you are thinking of right now, just share this video with them. Let them know that you've been thinking of them, that you think this will help them in some way, to help them with their mindset to be always better than yesterday. Really appreciate you taking the time out. Will, I hope you have a fantastic week, and I look forward to connecting again in the very near future.
My pleasure, Angie.
Take care, guys. Much love.